The planet Calith was quiet under its twin moons. The air shimmered with a soft blue glow, cast by countless plants that seemed to carry their own light. Lieutenant Marcus Hale walked slowly through the colony perimeter, the faint hum of his rifle against his chest and the sound of his boots pressing into alien soil. The night was warm but carried a crispness, the kind that made every breath feel sharp and alive. It was his turn for patrol. The Aurora, humanity's great colony ship, had landed only 2 weeks earlier, and the settlers were still learning how to build their first shelters, gather food, and guard against unknown dangers. Every night pairs of soldiers walked the edge of the camp, but Marcus preferred to walk alone. He was a soldier who had lived through too many wars back on Earth. This mission was supposed to be different. It wasn't about fighting, it was about beginning again. Yet he knew enough of history to understand that no new beginning was ever free of danger. The forest around him was alive with sounds, the whisper of tall grass, the chirping of winged insects, and the distant call of some creature that almost sounded like a wolf, but carried a strange echo. The stars overhead looked brighter than they ever had on Earth. Marcus paused at the ridge where the colony lights ended. From there, the wilderness stretched out unbroken, a sea of glowing plants swaying in the wind. He felt something stirring in his chest, awe mixed with unease. Beautiful, isn't it? He whispered to himself, but he wasn't alone. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Just beyond the ridge, half hidden among the glowing plants, stood a figure. At first, Marcus thought it was a trick of the light. But then the figure moved, graceful, steady, unafraid. His training kicked in. He raised his rifle and switched on his helmet's visor. The outline sharpened. It was humanoid, slender, standing taller than most human women, with skin that shimmered faintly like silver under moonlight. The figure stepped closer. Marcus steadied his breath. "Identify yourself," he called out. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. The alien woman stopped only a few paces away. Her eyes were the first thing he noticed, bright glowing pools of silver that seemed to reflect not only the moon's but also his very thoughts. Her skin carried faint streaks of blue light, like rivers of energy flowing under the surface. Her hair, long and dark, floated slightly as if the air itself responded to her presence. Marcus froze. She didn't look hostile. She didn't look afraid either. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him as one might study an animal caught in the wrong place. When she finally spoke, her voice wasn't words at first. It was a sound and musical, flowing like water striking stone. His visor translated fragments, but the machine struggled to keep up. Then somehow her meaning pressed into his mind. "You should not be here." Marcus lowered his rifle slightly. "Who are you?" The woman's eyes narrowed. She lifted a hand and the light under her skin pulsed gently. The translation in his visor continued to falter, but the impression in his mind was clear. This ground, sacred. Leave. He had read the mission reports. The scientists had found no clear signs of advanced civilization when they surveyed Calith. Yet here she was, intelligent, articulate, and clearly aware of his presence. Marcus took a careful step forward. He kept his voice calm. "We don't want to harm anyone. We're just here to live." For a moment, silence stretched between them. The night sounds of the forest seemed to pause as if listening. Then she moved closer, so close now that he could see the faint glow of her veins like lines of fire beneath her skin. "You, human," she said at last, the word heavy, strange on her tongue. "Yes," Marcus answered. Her gaze softened slightly, but then like a storm passing through, her eyes hardened again. "Humans bring change. Change brings fire." Marcus felt the weight of her words press into him. He didn't fully understand, but he sensed her warning. Something deep and dangerous lay beneath her calm. "I'm Marcus," he said quietly. "Marcus Hale." She hesitated, then touched her hand to her chest. "Liara." The sound of her name carried like a chord of music, simple yet unforgettable. Marcus repeated it under his breath. "Liara." Her silver eyes watched him carefully. Then she turned her face toward the forest, listening. For the first time, Marcus noticed how her body seemed almost tuned to the world around her, how the leaves bent toward her when the wind moved, how the light from the plants seemed brighter when she passed. She turned back to him and spoke again, the translation finally catching up. "Your people are building on sacred ground. The land will not forgive," Marcus frowned. "Sacred ground to you? Or to someone else?" Liara's eyes flickered. "To all, the ground remembers." It does not forget, he felt a chill. The way she said it wasn't superstition. It was conviction. I'll tell my people, Marcus promised. We don't want trouble. But Liara shook her head. Her hair shimmered like a dark wave in the moonlight. Too late. The fire is already coming. Before Marcus could speak again, she stepped back. The plants around her seemed to open slightly, creating a path, and then she was gone, her figure melting into the forest's glow until only silence remained. Marcus stood frozen, rifle still in his hands, but his mind was far away. He had expected loneliness on his first night of patrol. Instead, he found something else. A connection that stirred something deep in his chest. Her eyes. Her voice. The way she had spoken not just to his ears but to his very soul. It was not love. Not yet. But it was something powerful, something he could not name. And it burned into him, refusing to fade. The colony of Aurora's dawn woke every morning to the same sounds. Hammers striking metal, generators humming, and voices raised in the hard labor of survival. For most settlers, life on Calith was still new enough to feel like adventure. But for Marcus Hale, every sunrise since that night had carried a shadow. He hadn't told anyone about Liara. Not yet. The scientists would want to study her. The commanders would want to question her. And the settlers would panic at the idea of a powerful alien race watching from the trees. Marcus knew the colony wasn't ready. Still, her words haunted him. The fire is already coming. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was moving against them. Something bigger than simple superstition. On the 7th day after their meeting, the fire came. It began at the edge of the crop fields, where settlers had planted earth grains into Calith soil. The stalks had grown quickly, nourished by the strange mineral-rich ground. But that morning, flames tore across the field with unnatural speed. Marcus was one of the first on the scene. He sprinted toward the fire line, shouting for settlers to grab extinguishers. The flames burned blue, not red, licking hungrily at the crops as though alive. He could feel the heat on his face even before he reached the field. Get water. Get foam, someone screamed. Settlers formed a frantic chain, passing buckets, spraying hoses. But the fire didn't behave like any fire Marcus had seen before. It moved in patterns curling against the wind, spreading not just through dry stalks but through wet soil. Marcus dropped to one knee, pressing his gloved hand against the earth. The heat pulsed beneath the surface as if the fire were crawling underground. This isn't natural, he muttered. By the time the flames were beaten back, half the field was ash. The colony lost nearly a month's food supply in a single morning. That night, the settlers gathered in the central square. Fear spread like a sickness. It was sabotage, one farmer growled. Someone lit it. Sabotage by who? Another demanded. We're the only ones here. Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, silent. But his thoughts were loud. Not the only ones. The attacks didn't stop. 3 nights later, one of the water tanks was found cracked open. Its contents spilled into the dirt. The day after that, the perimeter alarms triggered twice, showing shadows moving just beyond the lights, but no bodies were found. Every time something happened, Marcus thought of Liara's warning. The fire was here. It wasn't random. Someone, or something, wanted the humans gone. He tried to tell Commander Reeves, his superior officer, but Reeves dismissed him. Stress, Hale. You've been working too many nights. Fires, cracks, shadows, and all of it's natural. You think the earth didn't burn or break before we came here? Reeves clapped him on the shoulder, trying to sound reassuring. Get some rest. But Marcus knew better. That night, he made his decision. When his shift began, he didn't patrol the perimeter. Instead, he slipped quietly into the forest, moving toward the ridge where he had first met Liara. His boots pressed softly against glowing moss, leaving faint prints that faded seconds later. The deeper he walked, the more alive the forest felt. Plants shifted as if watching. Creatures darted through the undergrowth. He felt eyes on him, though no one appeared. He was about to turn back when he heard the voice. Marcus. Her voice. Liara stepped out from behind a cluster of tall, crystalline trees, her silver eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. She looked exactly as she had that first night, calm, graceful, and yet heavy with something unspoken. You came, she said. I had to. Marcus lowered his rifle. The colony's under attack. Crops burned. Supplies destroyed. People are scared. I need answers, Liara. Her gaze lingered on him, then shifted to the forest around them. It has begun. The other clan moves against you. Other clan? Liara walked closer, her steps light, almost soundless. She stopped only a few feet from him. My people are not one. We are many. Some wish peace. Others do not. The clan of shadows wants the land for themselves. To them you are invaders. They will not stop. Marcus clenched his fists. Then why warn me? Why not let them push us out? Liara's eyes softened. Because not all humans are fire. Listen, her words struck deep. Marcus had spent years as a soldier, seen humanity's worst side, greed, destruction, endless war. Yet in that moment, standing before her, he felt something else. He wanted to be the one who listened. What do they want? He asked. Liara shook her head. They want the land. They want the sacred places untouched. But they also want you afraid. Fire, shadow, fear. These are their weapons. Marcus thought of the settlers back in camp, how quickly fear had spread after the fire. Liara was right. Then help me stop them, Marcus said. Liara hesitated. The blue glow under her skin brightened, pulsing with her heartbeat. If I help you, I betray my own. And if you don't, Marcus replied, my people could be destroyed. Maybe yours too. Fear grows fast, silence stretched. Then slowly Liara extended her hand. Come, she said. If you wish answers, I will show you. They walked together through the forest. Liara moved with such ease that Marcus felt clumsy beside her. She touched plants as they passed, and they responded, glowing brighter, shifting slightly, opening petals that released faint scents into the air. After nearly an hour, they reached a clearing. In its center stood ruins. Marcus's breath caught at the sight. Stone pillars, cracked and broken, rose from the ground, covered in vines. Symbols glowed faintly on their surfaces. Symbols that looked eerily similar to ones Marcus had seen in human history books. This place, Marcus whispered. It's not human, but Liara's silver eyes fixed on him. It is older than both of us. Older than Calith. Older than Earth. He stepped closer, tracing his fingers over one of the symbols. His helmet recorded it automatically, but he barely noticed. These are almost familiar, he muttered. Like something out of ancient human scripts. Liara nodded. Because your people and mine were touched by the same hand. Long ago, before memory, a race walked the stars. They shaped worlds. They left seeds. You are one. We are another. Marcus stared at her. The idea was impossible. And yet, standing in those ruins, looking at carvings that spoke to something deep in his bones, he couldn't deny it. Humans and Calithians were linked, and the clans that wanted to drive the humans away were not just fighting for land. They were fighting for the legacy of something far greater. Marcus was standing near the edge of the colony, watching the first rays of sunlight touch the silver-blue trees when the alarm screamed. A scout sprinted into camp, breathless and pale. They're coming! Dozens of them, shapes in the forest. Chaos erupted. Settlers dropped tools, children cried, and soldiers scrambled for weapons. Commander Reeves barked orders, trying to bring order, but fear spread faster than his voice. Marcus gripped his rifle, his heart pounding. He knew this moment would come. Liara's words echoed in his mind. The fire is already coming. He ran to Reeves. It's the rival clan. They've been testing us for days. Now they're making their move. Reeves shot him a sharp look. You sound like you know too much about this, Hale. Marcus hesitated. He couldn't reveal everything, not yet. I just know we need to be ready. And we can't face them alone, Reeves frowned. What do you mean alone? We've got rifles, drones, defenses. Before Marcus could answer, a cry split the air. Shapes burst from the tree line. The enemy had arrived. They were terrifying in the morning light. Taller than Liara, their bodies marked with dark lines of glowing crimson instead of blue. Their armor looked grown rather than forged, plates of bone and crystal that shimmered with hostile energy. Their weapons spat bolts of fire that hissed as they struck metal and flesh alike. The colony's perimeter shield sparked under the assault, trembling with each hit. Settlers screamed as the first bolt slipped through, burning holes in equipment and walls. Marcus lifted his rifle and fired. The shot cut through the air, striking one of the Crimson warriors. The figure staggered, then fell, but more pressed forward, their movements fast and coordinated. They'll overrun us, someone shouted. Marcus's mind raced. If Liara was right, the rival clan wouldn't stop until the humans were wiped out. They weren't just defending sacred ground. They were making war and then made them in the chaos. Marcus saw her, Liara. She appeared on the ridge, her figure glowing faintly, her silver eyes fierce. With a cry that carried across the battlefield, she leapt into the fray. The ground seemed to respond, vines twisting up to block enemy shots. Blue light flared from her hands, striking one of the crimson warriors and sending him crashing backward. The colonists froze for a heartbeat, stunned by her sudden arrival. To them, she was just another alien. But Marcus felt something surge inside him. Hope. She's with us, he shouted. The battle raged. Marcus fought beside Liara, their movements almost instinctively in sync. When she raised her hand to shield him from fire, he stepped forward to cover her flank. When he fired at a charging enemy, she pulled the ground itself to trip their advance. But the enemy clan was strong. For every warrior they felled, 2 more pressed forward. The colony walls cracked, fires spread, and the settlers' fear threatened to break into panic. "We can't hold much longer," Reeves shouted. Liara turned to Marcus, her silver eyes glowing brighter. "There is a way, but it will cost me." "What way?" Marcus demanded, firing another burst. Her chest rose and fell quickly, the blue glow under her skin pulsing like a heartbeat made of light. "Soul fire." The word hit him like a weight. "What is it?" Liara's voice was steady, though her body trembled. "It is the memory of my people. The fire of courage. When called, it burns everything, enemy and self." Marcus's stomach tightened. "You'll die." Her gaze softened even in the chaos of battle. "If my death saves both our peoples, it is worthy." "No," Marcus said sharply. He grabbed her arm, holding her steady. "There has to be another way. If you burn out, who will guide your people? Who will help us understand this world? You can't throw yourself away!" For a moment, time seemed to stop. The battle raged around them, shouts and fire filling the air. But in that heartbeat, Marcus and Liara stood locked in silence. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice low but fierce. "If humans are good for anything, it's fighting when the odds are impossible. We don't give up. We don't burn alone." Liara's silver eyes widened slightly. The glow under her skin dimmed as if his words reached into her core. "Then fight with me," she whispered. "Always." Marcus answered. Together, they turned. Marcus shouted to the settlers, his voice carrying through the chaos. "Stand your ground. Don't fear them. This is our home, and we fight for it together." His words struck sparks in weary hearts. Settlers who had been retreating stopped. Farmers picked up rifles. Engineers grabbed tools and turned them into weapons. Even Reeves, who had doubted Marcus, barked orders with renewed fire. Liara lifted her hands. Instead of releasing all her power in one devastating blaze, she channeled it differently. Guided by Marcus's presence beside her, she spread the soul fire not as destruction but as light. A wave of blue fire swept across the battlefield, not burning the settlers but filling them with strength. Fear melted into courage. Exhaustion turned into energy. Their hearts blazed as if her soul fire had touched each of them. The enemy clan faltered. Their crimson glow dimmed in the face of the blue light. For the first time, their charge broke. Marcus seized the moment. "Now push them back." Smoke drifted above the scorched fields, curling into the pale morning sky. The ground was littered with broken weapons and shattered fragments of crystal armor, the remnants of the Crimson Clan who had tried to destroy them. The colony's walls were scarred, blackened from fire, but they still stood. And so did the people within. Marcus lowered his rifle slowly. His arms trembled from exhaustion, but his spirit blazed with something far stronger than fatigue. Around him, settlers helped one another to their feet. Soldiers leaned against broken barricades, bloodied but alive. Farmers hugged their children. They had survived. He turned to Liara. She stood near the ridge, her body glowing faintly, her hair drifting in the breeze. The soul fire within her had dimmed, but its echo lingered in the air, warm and steady like the heartbeat of the world itself. Her silver eyes met his, and for a moment neither spoke. They didn't need to. It was enough to know that together, they had turned despair into hope. But the victory was not without cost. Dozens of settlers had fallen. Several structures were destroyed beyond repair. Supplies had been burned, leaving the colony facing shortages once again. And though the Crimson Warriors had retreated, Marcus knew this was not their last strike. Commander Reeves approached, his uniform torn and stained, but his posture still firm. He looked at Marcus, then at Liara, his jaw tight. "You knew about them," Reeves said. Marcus straightened. "I suspected. She warned me." Reeves's gaze lingered on Liara, wary but not hostile. "And yet she fought with us." Liara inclined her head slightly. The fire threatens us all. Your people, my people. If you fall, the forest falls with you. I cannot allow that. Reeves studied her in silence, then finally nodded. Then perhaps. We need to talk. All of us. That evening, while the wounded rested and repairs began, a council gathered. Settlers, soldiers, and Liara sat together in the central square. The air was heavy with tension, but also with curiosity. For the first time, humans and Calithians faced one another not as strangers, not as enemies, but as potential allies. Liara spoke first. Her voice carried softly, yet every ear strained to hear. My clan has kept to the forest for generations. We honor the old places, the sacred grounds left by those who shaped both our worlds. We do not seek war. But the Crimson Clan, they will not stop. To them, you are invaders. They will come again, murmurs spread among the settlers. Fear, anger, doubt. Marcus rose to his feet, his voice firm. Then we can't fight this alone. We need each other. The enemy wants us divided, afraid. But if humans and Liara's people stand together, we can hold them back. A farmer spoke up. And how do we trust them? How do we know they won't turn on us once the Crimson are gone? Marcus looked at Liara. She met his gaze, then stepped forward. I cannot give words strong enough to erase fear, she admitted. But I can give my life if I break faith. My bond to this man, she gestured to Marcus, is proof. His courage touched my soul fire. His spirit is stronger than flame. Together we are already one. Let our peoples become the same. The council fell silent. Marcus's heart beat hard. He hadn't expected her to speak so openly. But her words carried a truth he could not deny. From the moment they met, something had bound them. Not love in the way his people often spoke of it, but something deeper, a passion of trust, loyalty, and soul. At last, Reeves spoke. Then we will try. Not because we trust easily, but because we must. Humanity didn't cross the stars to repeat old mistakes. We came to build, to survive, to grow. A murmur of agreement swept the settlers, and so for the first time, an alliance was born. That night, Marcus and Liara stood outside the camp, watching the stars rise. The ruins glowed faintly in the distance, silent witnesses to their decision. Liara spoke softly. The Crimson will return stronger, perhaps with others beside them. Marcus nodded. And when they do, we'll be ready. Together. She studied him for a long moment, her silver eyes searching. Then quietly she said, When I first saw you, I thought only of fire, of the danger your people would bring. But now I see something else, a fire that gives life, not just death. Marcus swallowed, feeling the weight of her words. And when I first saw you, I thought I was alone on this world. But you burned into me that night. You made me remember what it feels like to fight for more than survival, to fight for a future. Their eyes held one another. No more words were needed. The bond between them was no longer fragile, no longer new. It was steady, like the heartbeat of two peoples becoming one.